guys, it's Hattie. Today I'm going to be talking all about tummy time, what it is, what the benefits are, and how you can do it to make it fun and effective for your little ones. I'm going to be talking from newborn right the way up to 6 months, and when I say newborn, I literally mean as soon as the baby comes home from hospital. Every baby is different, so only do what you are comfortable with, and of course they should always be supervised and make sure they are having fun. If you're already aware of what tummy time is and when you should be doing it and how long for, then please feel free to skip to the relevant points for you. I'm going to put all of the timings and the categories in the description box below. Tummy time is what it says on the tin. It's the time that your baby is spent lying on their tummy. It may seem like a weird thing to do to put a baby on their fronts when they can't hold their heads up, but it's really important for them to develop all of the little tiny motor skills that they will need later on for crawling, rolling, sitting, and eventually walking. So whilst your baby is on their tummy, they are strengthening so many different muscles, including their core, their back, their shoulders, their arms, and their necks. It's a really great way for them to practice reaching for things in front of them and pivoting. It's also brilliant for their visual development, sensory stimulation, and they also can use this position to bond with siblings or parents or anybody that they play with. And it also can prevent babies getting flat spots. Some babies, if they spend a lot of time, which most newborns do, laying on the backs of their heads, you might find that they get little flat spots. We obviously want to avoid this, and so any time spent on their tummy is really beneficial. So your baby can start doing tummy time in very small doses from the moment they come home from hospital. It might not be the first thing that you're going to do on your list, but it is something that you can get your baby used to from a really, really young age. And if your baby is anything like Hugo, my son, he did not enjoy tummy time at first. And that's why it's really important to start small and early and to build it up over time. You want to start really around 1 to 3 minutes at a time and spread these little sessions out throughout the day. Obviously, if your baby's hungry or sleepy or due a nappy change, they might not tolerate it for very long. These are the times to avoid doing it, but as long as you're getting little minutes here and there, you're going to be helping your baby so much. By the time babies are around 2 to 3 months, you can extend these periods longer. You'll find that baby's stronger and is more able to engage in what you're doing with them. And you want to be doing around 15 to 30 minutes spread out through the day. By the time your baby's 4 to 6 months old, they'll be really enjoying tummy time, hopefully by now. They'll be so much stronger and they'll be really enjoying exploring the world around them. And around this age, you can be looking at doing 30 to 60 minutes a day, again, spread out throughout the day in little sessions just to keep them interested and happy. So you might be thinking, how can I do it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the ages and give you little tips and ways that you can do tummy time with your baby and hopefully make it as enjoyable as possible for them. So for newborns, like I said, the minute they come home from the hospital, you might be doing tummy time without even realising it. One way that I used to do this with Hugo was skin to skin on my chest, and he would use his little neck muscles to look around and try and find me if I was talking to him. If you're sat on the bed or if you're sat on the sofa, you can just lay back, have your baby here, obviously going to support them fully, and it's a really nice way, skin to skin, you're bonding, baby feels happy and secure, but ultimately that counts as tummy time and they're really going to be strengthening those muscles to hold up their heads. They might not tolerate this for very long, or they may just fall asleep, and that's fine. Just make sure that you stay awake and alert and that they're sleeping safely. A great way to do tummy time with a newborn, which is supporting them and not letting them just face plant the floor, is to prop them up over a rolled blanket or a muslin or even a breastfeeding pillow if you have one. And what you can do here is put this underneath the baby's chest, move their arms over the top of it so their armpits are kind of resting on top of here, and that way their chest is supported and they'll be able to lift their head a little bit further. You can see in this clip here that Hugo is on the bed with a muslin underneath his chest, and I'm actually crouching down on the floor so that I can get really, really close to his face, and you can see that he's moving his head and he's looking for my voice. This is a really nice comforting way for a baby to do tummy time. Obviously it's a different position for them and they might be a little bit confused why they're there and where mum's gone, so the closer you can get to them the better. Newborn babies can't see very far. They can only really see around 8 to 12 inches away from them, and their vision is quite blurry and they can't see colours very well. Often whilst Hugo was laying on his tummy, I would show him books. These books are fantastic. We found this in our local bookstore and you can get them on the internet. I'll put a link below if you're interested. Our health visitor actually gave us one similar. But it's got these lovely high contrast pictures in there. It's got animals so you can make noise. It's got one object per page and you might find that your newborn really spots an interest in one particular face or one particular colour. And this is really good for stimulating their vision, and they're developing all of those little motor skills that they will need for later milestones. Another great way that isn't that obvious and wasn't that obvious to me, but it still counts as tummy time, is if your baby is in a carrier. I used to walk around the house and just get little jobs done with Hugo in here, and I would often find him looking up and using his muscles to just lift his head and have a little look around, see what was going on, and then he'd nod off to sleep. But yeah, that is also a way that counts as tummy time because they're still developing the same muscles. By the time your baby is around 2 to 3 months, you might find that at this point they're able to lift their head around 45 degrees. This is a great time because they're able to engage in more activities and be more interested in things that you're showing them whilst they're in tummy time. One toy that was a real hit with Hugo, and I've noticed a lot of other babies are interested in these, are these ribbons. So they have these lovely long ribbons attached to a little wooden ring, and the colours and the movement of it really got his attention. I used to hang this above him on his play gym, and it would really encourage him to lift his head a little bit further and to have a look. Eventually he would start to try and grab this. It's really easy for babies to grab hold of, and he just was fascinated by it, and it's still in our toy box now because he does still play with this. I got these really cheap on Amazon, but obviously you could make something like this so easily, and I really recommend something like this. Real easy, simple but effective tummy time prop. Another great hit with Hugo at this age was some really noisy bells. I did find a noisy or intriguing sounds for Hugo really made him move his body and develop all of those muscles that he needs for later on. I've started this now and it won't shut up. But this was a lovely toy. This was actually a really old toy from one of my siblings. But he loved watching this and the sounds and the dog. So toys like this are lovely. It's not going to shut up. Although baby's eyesight is still developing at this age, you can introduce different colours and different shapes to them now. I found this book actually in TK Maxx and I just loved the huge pictures and the colours and the big bold print. Hugo loved this puffer fish and he would just sit and stare at his face. So what I would do is I would lay Hugo on the floor, again on top of a rolled up muslin, and I would just prop the book on the floor on an open page, and he would just sit and have a look at it. He would try and reach to touch it. You could put the book on one side or on the other side of baby to encourage them to turn and pivot around, and those are all laying down the foundation skills that they'll need for crawling. If you have children, you'll be familiar with these, I'm sure. This is the That's Not My Bear. You can get tons of different That's Not My books. These are really great because they're catered for younger babies in mind, with the high contrast pictures and the colours are really simple. These are great because they have different textures, again, so your baby will be engaging in a sensory activity. Reading to your baby develops their speech and language skills as well, and their communication skills. And also, whilst they're doing this in tummy time, again, it's just a great added bonus. Introducing lights to your baby at this age is also a really good way to get them distracted whilst doing tummy time. We bought Hugo some of these flashing sensory balls, and they're just fantastic. They're made from rubber. They have a little flashing light inside of them. They've got this spiky surface, which is quite interesting for babies. This is Hugo at one of his baby classes, and as you can see, all of the babies are doing tummy time and just being fascinated by the light show. At this age, when they're smiling and they're reacting to you making silly faces, it's a really good time to experiment with that and really have fun with it. I used to lay on the floor, or Grin used to lay on the floor with Hugo. We used to put my breastfeeding pillow on one of our chests, and Hugo would pop over the top of the pillow and we would be face to face pretty much, and you can just sing to baby, make silly faces, really have fun with your features and your facial expressions. And you can see here that Hugo finds it quite fascinating and quite hilarious. He used to stay in this position for quite a while, and it's a really nice bonding experience. You could do this with siblings, mum, dad, nan, granddad, and it's just a really nice way to get some tummy time in and to get some fun in. So by the time your baby is 4 months, they might be starting to try and prop themselves up on their forearms. This is when you can really go to town with your activities. I really like to experiment with what I could do with Hugo at this age. They're so much stronger and they're so much more aware of their surroundings, and they're so much more intrigued and curious about things. So you could do all manner of activities with your baby at this point. Another great toy for Hugo that I found just looking on the internet one day was this water mat. You basically just blow it up around the edge and then fill it with water in the middle. Tip for you though, if you do get one of these, put warm water in it. I put cold tap water in it, and I think Hugo's forearms were pretty cold till I realised that actually putting cold water in it was going to make him quite cold. But yeah, he really enjoyed patting. You can see here he's just having a great time. There's little bright coloured foam shapes in there that he was experimenting with. The great thing about this mat is that whilst the babies are on it and the water is moving underneath them, it's encouraging baby to weight transfer through their arms, and this is a fantastic skill that they need to crawl. Another great thing to do with your baby at this age is to lay on the floor and lift your knees up to your chest and put your baby on your shins. You can sing to them, make funny faces. Again, they love stuff like that. They're fascinated by faces. You can see here that Hugo is just peeping over the top of Gwyn's knees, and he just loved to look down and see his dad and just be a bit silly. If you want to get messy play involved at this age, it's also a great time to do it. I used to get some water and some frozen peas in a pan. You could put ping pong balls in there, balls from a ball pit, rubber ducks, any kind of toy that could go in the water. It's great for them to practice their reach and their weight transference and to really support themselves whilst using their arms, because these skills they will need later on in life. If you're doing activities like this, your baby has to be supervised and make sure that they're not going to swallow anything that they could potentially choke on. For those of you who have babies who have reflux, then I feel you. It can seem like a really counterproductive thing to do with your baby. Hugo had reflux, and if I put him on his tummy, he would sometimes get a little bit more refluxy and he would go bright red and get really annoyed with me, and it was obvious that it wasn't very enjoyable for him. This led me to do some research on how I can do tummy time but not aggravate Hugo's reflux. My top tips for babies with reflux and tummy time are: try not to do tummy time within an hour after a feed. I found that this was just the worst time to do it. Try and do tummy time after a nappy change or when baby's having a moment of alertness before a feed. Try to keep your baby propped up as much as you can. Laying on your chest at an angle, laying on the floor on top of a blanket or a pillow is a great way to keep them a little bit more upright. And obviously, if they are having a bad refluxy day, then just put it down to today's a bad day for it, we'll try again tomorrow. As long as you're giving your baby opportunities to be on their tummies, then you're doing a great job. So they're my tips for tummy time, making it fun and effective for your baby. If there's anything that you're curious about, any comments that you'd like to make, anything that your baby does that they particularly enjoy, then please leave me a comment in the box below. I would be so happy if you liked this video and subscribed to my channel, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!